Hey, Robert, have you done something to your face recently? You look different. Did you start going to a skincare clinic or something? I blinked in surprise. It was Carol, an old friend I hadn't seen in ages at our local senior club. Her words caught me off guard. Oh no, nothing fancy like that, I replied, shaking my head. I don't really have the budget for it. I just started doing something a little different. I gently placed my hand on my cheek, almost instinctively. I had noticed the laugh lines around my mouth softening lately, and yes, I did feel like my skin was changing. Carol leaned in closer, curiosity practically lighting up her eyes. Tell me, what are you doing? I hesitated for a second, then said it. Honestly, it's just Vaseline. I started applying it to my face every night before bed. She blinked at me. That's it? Just Vaseline? Yep, the kind you get at any drugstore. $5. That's all. Her mouth dropped open. You're kidding. I spend over $150 a month on skincare products. Are you saying this stuff actually works? If you're like Carol, you might be thinking the same thing. You look in the mirror and feel disheartened by the deepening wrinkles. You try pricey creams and wonder if they're doing anything at all. But let me assure you, this simple method I'm going to share with you could finally put an end to that worry. And no, it doesn't require thousands of dollars, a trip to the dermatologist, or invasive procedures. My name is Dr. Robert Whitman, a retired plastic surgeon, and I'm 87 years old. What you're about to learn is a method I've taught to patients over the last 50 years. It's safe, proven, and incredibly affordable. Let me tell you about one of my patients, Linda Mayfield, a 76-year-old woman who came to me feeling frustrated with her appearance. Her skin had lost its glow, her wrinkles had deepened, and nothing she used seemed to help. But after just 3 months of using this one simple method, she looked 10 years younger. What was the secret? Vaseline. But don't be fooled into thinking it's just about rubbing it on your face and hoping for the best. No, there's a technique to it, a rhythm. And unless you apply it the right way, you won't unlock its true power. If you stop watching this video now, you'll likely continue throwing money at luxury products that do less for you than this humble little jar of petroleum jelly. And I mean it when I say the final part of this video holds the real magic, the nighttime routine that changes everything. This is the kind of insider knowledge big beauty corporations don't want you to hear. And I'm only sharing it here with you on this channel dedicated to longevity and true wellness. So go ahead, subscribe, hit the like button, and stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you might just change your skin and your confidence forever. Let me take you back. Nearly 30 years ago, I was at the height of my career. I had just returned from a fellowship program in the United States when I was approached by a global cosmetics brand to consult on their newest product line. They invited me to tour their research facility. And there, in a room filled with scientists in white coats, I was introduced to what they call their next revolutionary anti-aging cream. Dr. Whitman, this is our premium launch, the Executive Beamed. It'll retail at around $450 per jar. I looked at the sample in my hand. Luxurious packaging, impressive branding. But when I read the ingredient list, I almost laughed. The main component? Highly refined petrolatum. Vaseline. Right there, I saw the truth. This industry isn't driven by miracle science. It's driven by marketing, by perception, by the illusion of transformation. Let me introduce you to another patient, Patricia Lane. She was 72 at the time and, like many women, spent nearly $300 a month on creams and serums. Despite that, her skin was dry, irritated, and dull. When I recommended Vaseline, she looked doubtful. This cheap stuff? Are you sure, doctor? I nodded. Just try it. 3 months later, Patricia walked into my office glowing. Her skin was supple, her wrinkles softer, her eyes brighter. I can't believe it, she told me. Even my grandson said, "Grandma, you look different." What most people don't realize is that the biggest enemy of aging skin isn't time. It's moisture loss. As we age, our skin struggles to retain water. The protective barrier weakens, and without it, hydration slips away like vapor. Imagine your skin as a bowl of water. If you leave it uncovered, the water will evaporate. But put a lid on it, and the moisture stays locked in. That's exactly what Vaseline does. It acts as that lid. It doesn't add moisture, it seals it in. And studies have shown it can reduce transepidermal water loss by up to 98%. No $400 cream can do that. Not even close. So take a moment. Pour yourself a cup of tea. Reflect on how much you've spent over the years on skincare. Has it truly delivered? But tonight, that changes. Because now, you know the truth. And yes, Vaseline alone is powerful, but there's more. I'm going to show you how to amplify its effects by pairing it with one small, potent addition. Let's talk about hydrating ampoules. Maybe your granddaughter gifted you a fancy little bottle from France. Or maybe you saw one on sale and gave it a try. Most people dab it on and move on. But here's what you do instead. Apply the ampoule, wait 3 minutes, then layer a thin film of Vaseline on top. That ampoule, usually packed with hyaluronic acid, draws moisture deep into your skin. Vaseline then locks that moisture in. The result? Deep, lasting hydration. A face that feels dewy in the morning. A reflection that makes you smile. We're just getting started. Ready to keep going? Ampoules are known for their remarkable beauty-enhancing properties. But as powerful as they are, there's one major drawback. They evaporate almost instantly when exposed to air. I remember clearly a patient I had several years ago, a woman named Judith Morgan, who was 69 at the time. Judith had been using an expensive imported ampoule that promised visible results, but she came to me disappointed, saying she hadn't noticed much of a difference. What I suggested to her was surprisingly simple. First, I told her to apply the ampoule as usual to her skin and then wait for about 3 minutes. Once that was done, I advised her to take a tiny amount of petroleum jelly, about the size of a grain of rice, and gently spread it across her entire face. That was it. Nothing fancy. No new product or complicated process. 1 month later, Judith came back to see me, her face practically glowing. She looked like a completely different person. She couldn't believe the transformation. The ampoule she'd been using hadn't changed, but the results had doubled. Why? Because the petroleum jelly acted as a seal, preventing the hydration and active ingredients in the ampoule from evaporating into the air. Instead, they remained on her skin longer, giving them the time they needed to actually work. This method is especially powerful during dry winter months or when spending time in heated indoor environments, where moisture tends to disappear from the skin even faster. Now, let me tell you about another patient of mine, Martha Sullivan, who was 74. Martha had been trying to incorporate a retinol cream into her routine. Retinol is a wonderful ingredient. It speeds up cell turnover, boosts collagen production, and improves skin texture. But Martha found that every time she applied it, her skin would sting and turn red. She was on the verge of giving it up entirely. Instead, I proposed a small adjustment. I told her to apply the retinol cream as she normally would, then wait about 30 minutes, and finally, gently apply a thin layer of petroleum jelly over the top. This additional layer would help reduce irritation and lock in moisture while still allowing the retinol to do its job. A few weeks later, Martha reported back. No more redness, no more stinging. And even better, she said her skin felt firmer and smoother than it had in years. One crucial note about retinol: always use it at night only. Retinol increases your skin's sensitivity to sunlight, and using it during the day can actually cause damage rather than help. Moving on to the third combination I recommend: brightening serums and petroleum jelly. This one is a favorite in my own household. My wife, Nancy, has always been concerned about dark spots and uneven skin tone. She started applying her brightening serum at night and then, after waiting around 5 minutes, added a light layer of petroleum jelly on top. Within just 3 months, even I could see a visible difference in the spots on her cheeks. They had faded dramatically, and her skin tone looked much more even. Again, the method was simple, but the results were powerful. If you're curious to try this, you don't need to wait. Just apply your favorite brightening essence, wait a few minutes, and follow with a whisper-thin layer of petroleum jelly before heading to bed. You may just surprise yourself with what you see in the mirror a few weeks from now. Next is a slightly less common combination, but one I find fascinating: snail cream and petroleum jelly. Yes, snail cream. Many people in the US are still new to the idea, but it's packed with skin-repairing ingredients that help with elasticity and regeneration. However, snail cream tends to lose effectiveness over time as it dries out quickly. A former colleague of mine, Harold Grant, now 83, had been using snail cream for years, but was starting to feel like it wasn't doing much anymore. I recommended he try sealing it in with a small amount of petroleum jelly afterward. The difference, he later told me, was like night and day. His fine lines softened, and the overall texture of his skin improved dramatically. The repair process lasted longer, and his skin looked years younger. From these stories, you can see a pattern. Petroleum jelly becomes far more powerful when used as a seal over other active ingredients. Rather than using it alone, pairing it with proven skincare treatments dramatically improves their staying power and effectiveness. That said, a common mistake I see is using too much. When it comes to petroleum jelly, less is more. A small, thin layer is all you need. This technique has become part of my nightly routine, and I can say my skin has never felt better. If you're dealing with dryness, irritation, or just want to get more out of your existing skincare products, try one of these 4 combinations tonight. You might just see not only a change in your skin, but a little boost in your confidence too. Before I finish, let's talk about something that's often overlooked: the other parts of the body that age faster than the face. Surprising as it may sound, the neck, back of the hands, elbows, knees, and heels are usually the first to show signs of aging. These areas have thinner skin, fewer oil glands, and are often exposed to the sun without any protection. My wife Nancy, bless her, took this advice to heart when she was younger. Not only did she care for her face, but she diligently applied her skincare to her neck and hands as well. Today, at 83, people often assume she's in her early 70s. Let me share one last story. A patient of mine named Eleanor Reese once told me, "I had no idea my neck could wrinkle so much. No one ever told me to treat it like my face." That really struck me. The neck gets moved and stretched dozens of times a day, and because of its thinness, wrinkles form easily. For Eleanor, I recommended the same approach as with the face. Apply her usual serum or moisturizer to her neck, then lightly seal it with petroleum jelly before bed. 1 month later, the creases on her neck had faded considerably. A key tip: always massage upward when applying creams to the neck, never downward. This helps fight gravity rather than feeding into it. In the end, what matters most isn't buying expensive new products, but making the most of what you already have. A small change, like sealing your products with petroleum jelly, can completely transform the results you see. On your face, your neck, and everywhere else age tries to leave its mark. Tonight, choose one of these methods and give it a try. Your future self will thank you. When Margaret Thompson first noticed her hair visibly thinning, she couldn't have been more thrilled. Most people worry when their hair starts to fall out, but in her case, it was a sign that something was finally working. You see, She had been dealing with an uncomfortable scalp condition for years, and that shedding marked the beginning of healing. Margaret's joy was contagious. It reminded me of how deeply personal the aging process is, and how small victories can bring great relief. The next case I want to share involves a woman named Edith Wilson, who had just celebrated her 60th wedding anniversary. Edith came to see me with a humble request. "Doctor," she said with a soft smile, "I know I can't stop time, but at least I want my hands to look youthful. My grandson's wedding is next month, and I feel a little self-conscious about how I'll look in the photos." I could feel the sincerity in her voice, so I shared a simple nighttime hand care ritual that I've seen work wonders. I told her, "Edith, starting tonight, apply a generous amount of moisturizing cream to your hands before bed. Then lightly seal it in with a layer of petroleum jelly. Slip on some cotton gloves and go to sleep like that." 1 week later, she returned with bright eyes and a big grin. "My hands feel completely different," she exclaimed. "Softer, smoother. I can't believe it." I also encourage her to add a special care routine twice a week. Apply a thick layer of petroleum jelly, put on cotton gloves, and leave them on for 30 minutes. That was it. No fancy spa treatments or expensive products. And just like that, her hands looked 10 years younger, just in time for those cherished wedding photos. Now let's talk about the third case, care for the elbows and knees. 85-year-old George Miller is a lifelong golf enthusiast. Every summer, he wears his favorite cargo shorts when he heads to the course. But last year, he became increasingly aware of how dark and dry his knees had become. "Doc," he told me, "I never used to think much about my elbows and knees, but now they're getting darker, and it makes me feel older." He wasn't wrong. These areas are often neglected, but have a surprisingly big impact on how old we appear. I recommended a straightforward approach. After you bathe, while your skin still feels damp, apply a layer of petroleum jelly to your knees and elbows. Before bed, add a thicker layer for overnight care. Just a few days later, George was amazed. "I never thought my knees could feel this soft again." Now he wears his shorts proudly on the course, and even jokes about giving skincare advice to his golfing buddies. Next, let's move to a less obvious area, the ears, especially behind the ears and the earlobes. This part of the body is often forgotten during skincare routines, but the skin there is thin and prone to aging quickly. One of my patients, Linda Carter, told me that her teenage daughter once pointed to an elderly woman in a store and whispered, "Mom, that grandma looks super old. Her earlobes are all droopy." It stuck with her. And it's true. Sagging around the ears can make the whole face appear older. But don't worry, the solution is simple. I always remind my patients to include the ears and earlobes when applying facial moisturizers. At night, they should gently press a thin layer of petroleum jelly on the same areas. That's all it takes. Many of my patients report that once they start doing this consistently, their entire face appears tighter and more youthful. Then there's the matter of the mouth and lips. 80-year-old Barbara Jenkins came to me feeling defeated. "Dr. Yamada," she said, that's me, "I can't stand the wrinkles around my mouth. No matter what I try, I can't hide them. The area around the mouth is incredibly active. We use those muscles thousands of times a day to speak, smile, chew. It's no wonder it's one of the first places wrinkles appear." I told Barbara, "Before bed each night, apply a thick layer of petroleum jelly around your lips and over the lips themselves. Let soak in while you sleep." 1 month later, she returned with renewed confidence. "Doctor, even when I laugh now, the wrinkles don't look nearly as deep," she said. Her entire expression had softened, and it made her look and feel so much younger. Of course, we can't forget the eyes. The skin around our eyes is the thinnest on our entire face, making it the most vulnerable to aging. My wife often says You can tell someone's age just by looking into their eyes. She's not wrong. For her, I recommended a 2-step evening routine. Apply your usual eye cream first, then tap a tiny bit of petroleum jelly on top to seal in moisture. Just a tiny bit, too much can weigh the eyelids down. Thanks to this habit, my wife continues to receive compliments on how youthful her eyes look, even though she's well in her 70s. And now, I want to emphasize the most important point of all these routines: consistency. One of my longtime patients, 78-year-old Charlotte Green, once told me, "Doctor, I don't think it's working. I've been doing it for a week and nothing's changed." I smiled and gently encouraged her to keep going. Sure enough, about 3 months later, she came back beaming. "I get it now," she said. "It's like brushing your teeth. It only works if you do it every day." Her nightly routine has now become a comforting ritual, something she looks forward to. And she's not the only one. Many of my patients experience remarkable transformations simply because they stuck with it. But there is one word of caution. Petroleum jelly doesn't work the same for everyone. If you have oily or acne-prone skin, using too much of it or applying it incorrectly can lead to clogged pores or breakouts. I learned this firsthand during a consultation with 76-year-old Susan Monroe. "Doctor, I have naturally oily skin," she said. "Is petroleum jelly even safe for me?" I examined her skin carefully and explained, "Even as we age, our skin type usually stays the same. So yes, you can use it, but you need to be selective." For those with oily skin, I always recommend using petroleum jelly only on dry patches and avoiding areas like the T-zone. As someone with naturally oily skin myself, still shiny at 87, I speak from experience. In the end, aging gracefully doesn't require expensive creams or cosmetic procedures. Sometimes, all it takes is a jar of petroleum jelly, a bit of patience, and the quiet commitment to care for yourself each night. That's the secret my patients and I have shared for years, and it's one I hope you'll try for yourself starting tonight. Let me start with a crucial reminder for anyone with oily skin. Do not apply Vaseline all over your face. One of my longtime patients, 79-year-old Margaret Lane, made this exact mistake. Despite my advice, she applied a thick layer of Vaseline across her entire face, thinking more is better. The result? Her acne and breakouts worsened significantly. People with oily skin already have excess sebum production, which easily clogs pores. Vaseline, while protective, can seal in that oil and debris, triggering more skin issues. What I advise Margaret, and what I recommend to everyone, is to use Vaseline sparingly and only on dry areas. For example, avoid the T-zone, forehead, nose, chin, and apply just a whisper-thin layer to the cheeks or sides of the face where dryness is more common. Margaret followed this advice for a few weeks, and the results? Her skin visibly improved. Fewer breakouts, less redness, and a much more balanced texture. She couldn't believe something so simple could make such a big difference. Now for the second point. This one's even more important. Never apply Vaseline directly onto areas with active acne. Another patient of mine, 71-year-old Linda Green, has always had a tendency to develop pimples around her chin, even into her 70s. When she first came to me, she was putting Vaseline directly onto those acne-prone areas, hoping to soothe them. But Vaseline is occlusive, it locks things in. And in the case of acne, it can actually trap bacteria and oil under the skin, worsening inflammation. I advised Linda to avoid her breakout zones completely and to apply a small amount of Vaseline only to the drier parts of her face and only at night. Once she adjusted her routine, her skin started to calm down. That brings me to a more advanced tip, especially for those dealing with both dryness and acne. One of my favorite patients, 82-year-old Susan Brooks had long struggled with both. For her, I suggested mixing just 1 to 2 drops of tea tree oil into the Vaseline before applying. Tea tree oil has natural antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, and when combined with Vaseline's moisture-sealing ability, the result can be powerful. Susan followed this method every night, and within a few weeks, she was already noticing a big improvement in both dryness and breakouts. Now, here's another helpful method: combining Vaseline with medicated creams. A fellow physician I've worked with for years, Dr. John Patterson, once told me that despite all his knowledge, he still suffered from chronic skin irritation. I gave him a tip I've used countless times with patients: apply your prescribed cream first, then layer a tiny bit of Vaseline over it. This locks in the medication and allows it to work longer and more effectively. A few weeks later, John told me, "It's the same cream I've always used, but now the results are totally different." Next, a word of caution. Though rare, some people may experience allergic reactions to Vaseline. One such case was 83-year-old Helen Walker. She used Vaseline for the first time and noticed redness and irritation. While Vaseline is generally considered non-allergenic, sensitivities can happen. That's why I always recommend a simple patch test before regular use. Apply a small amount behind the ear or on the inside of your arm and observe it over 24 hours. If there's no reaction, you're good to go. Let me emphasize this once more. More is not better. A rice grain-sized amount of Vaseline is usually enough for your whole face, and it's best to use it at night only. During the day, Vaseline can attract dust, pollution, and make your skin feel sticky. So what's the proper way to apply it? Here's the routine I follow every night, and it's the one I teach all my patients. Start by gently washing your face with lukewarm water. Don't dry it completely, just pat it gently with a towel, leaving a bit of moisture behind. This helps your skin absorb whatever comes next. Then apply your favorite serum or essence if you use one. If not, you can skip straight to Vaseline. Warm a small amount between your fingers and gently smooth it over your face. Focus especially on areas with fine lines, like around the eyes and mouth. Use a touch more there if needed. And don't forget about other dry-prone spots: your neck, hands, elbows, heels, ears, and around the mouth. Spending just a few minutes caring for these often overlooked areas can make a world of difference. These moments of self-care become powerful daily rituals, especially as we age. Everything I've shared today comes from over 5 decades of hands-on experience. These are not just skincare tips, they're real stories from real people. I'll never forget what Emily, a woman I met when she was 78, once told me. "It's too late for me to start taking care of my skin now, isn't it?" But I remembered what my old mentor used to say: we don't stop caring for ourselves because we grow old. We grow old because we stop caring for ourselves. Emily took that to heart. She began her Vaseline routine that same night. After 6 months, her skin had transformed. She proudly told me that her grandson had grabbed her hand one afternoon and said, "Grandma, your hands are so soft." That single compliment meant the world to her. "I wish I'd started sooner," she told me, "but I'm so glad I didn't wait any longer." So let me say this to you too. It's never too late to begin. If you start today, tomorrow will already be a step better. In a month, you'll likely see visible changes. And in a year, you might not even recognize your own skin. My wife often puts it best: I'm not trying to look younger. I just want to age healthily. That's exactly the point. Healthy skin isn't just about beauty. It's your body's first line of defense. When your skin is protected, your whole body benefits. So why not begin your Vaseline routine tonight? Even if you just start with your hands. That one small habit can boost your confidence, your comfort, and maybe even your outlook on life. I sincerely hope your skin and your spirit continue to glow brighter with each passing day. Thank you so much for watching this far. If any part of this resonated with you or helped in any way, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you want to continue learning and caring together, make sure to subscribe. See you again in the next video.